In this lesson, I'm going to show you how to prepare FL 142, the Schedule of Assets and Debts. Now, both parties in an uncontested divorce must prepare this form. If you are filing a default divorce, you will not be preparing this form. You'll be preparing form FL 160 instead. On this form, you're going to list all your known community and separate property assets or debts. You're going to include assets even if they are in the possession of another person, including your spouse. If you contend an asset or debt is separate, put P for petitioner or R for respondent in the first column to indicate whom you contend it belongs to. All values listed in this form shall be as of the date of signing this form, unless you specify a different valuation date with a description. As instructed in previous lessons, you're going to go ahead and insert your personal information in the header part of this form, the county in which the Superior Court this case has been filed with, and both the petitioner respondent's first and last name, and your case number. You're also going to indicate whether you are the petitioner or the respondent when filling out this form. So in the first section of this form, it asks you to list any real estate in which you own. Even if you own the real estate as separate property, you must list it here. So you're going to insert the street address, the city and state of that real estate. You'll indicate whether it is P for respondent separate property or P for the petitioner separate property or R for the respondent. If it is community property, you will leave it blank. Next, you'll insert the date in which you acquired the property, the fair market value of the property, and the amount you owe on the mortgage. Keep in mind that this can be an estimate based off Zillow, and then you could just look at your most recent mortgage statement to see the amount owed. For household furniture and appliance, you will list all household furniture and appliance. So, for example, you will include master bedroom furniture set. And then you'll put whether or not it is the petitioner or respondent's going to be the petitioner or respondent's separate property. You'll put the date acquired, the value in which you paid for the set, and if you owe any money on that set. You could put patio furniture, kitchen appliances, etc. You're going to put that list here. The date, it doesn't have to be the exact date, but at least put the month and the year. If you don't know the month, put the year, the value, and then any amounts owed. If you do not have any furniture, you'll simply put none in this section. You can list out your jewelry, such as wedding ring, any antique art. You'll list out each type. You'll put whether it's a petitioner separate or petitioner respondents, or leave blank if it is community property, the date in which it is acquired, the amount, and the remaining encumbrance. So this form is going to be used as part of your marital settlement agreement. You're going to look at it and say, okay, this is what we've declared to be part of the community property estate. This is what we declared to be separate property of the respondent and the petitioner. So in that marital settlement agreement, you are going to have an exhibit to say this is how community property will be divided. You'll have an exhibit that says this is the property that's being confirmed to the petitioner as separate property. And then you'll have another exhibit that says this is the property that's being confirmed to the respondent as separate property. So make sure the information on this form is accurate as you're declaring under the penalty of perjury that it is. So another key thing I need to tell you is that when you list real estate, make sure you attach copies of deeds with legal descriptions and the latest lender statement. Also for vehicles, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to insert your vehicle make and model, indicate whether it's separate property or community property, date acquired, current gross fair market value, and the amount owed, if any. You'll also need to attach a copy of the title document. So look under each subheading to see which additional documents you must attach along with FL 142 to serve on the other party. If you forget to attach something, that's going to delay the process even more because you are required to provide that recent disclosure to the opposing party in order for your divorce judgment to be entered by the court. Some things to keep in mind when listing your savings account, if you have any. If you don't, put none. Make sure you list the name of the bank in which your savings account is held in. You're going to list the account number, and then you're going to also attach a copy of your most latest statement. Here you're going to put the date in which that account was acquired and the gross market value of how much money you have in that account. You're going to do the same thing with the checking account. Definitely do not forget to list the account name and number. I see that mistake occur. I personally see that mistake occurring a lot with documents that I review for my customers. So just make sure that that's completed so you don't have to repeat this exercise again. Same thing with credit union. You'll put none if you don't have any. You're going to list that information out and attach a copy of the latest statement. You can list any tax refunds you're going to receive, any tax you have on hand, the life insurance policy you have. They're also going to attach a copy of the declaration page for each policy. Complete these fields as indicated in my previous example as well. So read each subsection here carefully and always read the sub instructions under in parentheses as to which additional documents you must attach. Once you are done indicating all the values of the property and bank accounts you own and the remaining encumbrance, it's going to do a depending on if you're using Adobe, it'll automatically calculate this information for you. If not, you'll need to do the calculation yourself with the calculator and then just make sure your numbers are correct. On the next page of this form, you're going to list out all your debts. So if you have student loans, you're going to put your student loan holder and how much money you owe on those student loans. And then you'll indicate if the student loans is separate property, meaning you obtained those student loans prior to marriage, or did you take out those student loans while married. There's no prenup, postnup, there's no postnup or prenup indicating that it would be your separate property, so you would leave it blank showing that it's community property and the date in which you incurred it. Now, if you plan to pay off these student loans yourself, then you need to designate that it's going to be your separate property. You'll also include any taxes you owe, support arrearages, etc. Now notice it doesn't say you need to attach copies for student loans, but don't be surprised if the other party may or may not ask you for a recent statement. And then you'll put in the rest of your debts, listing out credit cards and attaching a copy of your latest statement, and then any other debts that weren't included in these sections, you're going to insert that right here. And then at the end, you are going to calculate all your total debts. Review everything on this form, make sure it's accurate. You're going to date, type and print your first and last name, and then sign. So again, you use this form to indicate what community property you believe is in your marital estate. You're also going to list out which property you believe should go to you as the petitioner or should go to your spouse as the respondent. And if you are not sure, you haven't reached an agreement on that yet, just leave it blank if that particular asset or debt was taken out during the marriage and no one has declared it his or hers. You can discuss that during your marital settlement agreement as to who the asset or debt will go to, and then that will be reflected in the exhibits of your marital settlement agreement. So that concludes this lesson. If you have any questions on how to complete the schedule of assets and debts, contact us info@sdesquire.com. Please go to the next lesson.